Malagasy does not actually originate from Africa. It originates from Polynesia. It's Austronesian, and Polynesian is also Austronesian. So is Indonesian and a bunch of those islands around the Indian Ocean. Madagascar was originally inhabited by, they think it was Polynesians that originally came there. Then it got some Arab influence. Arabs came over, and then Africans too, and like more South Africans. So, and then French came over, and it was originally a French colony. So it was a French colony, through the 1800s up until 1960, and then it got its independency. So it's Polynesian with Arabic and some African, Swahili, and French kind of mixed in. So the grammar goes back to Polynesian, and then it just has a bunch of random words from a whole bunch of different other places. So it's hard to comprehend. The grammar doesn't line up with English. The grammar structure kind of follows like Polynesian, Austronesian languages, and then it just has a bunch of other words from Africa and from Swahili and from Arabic even, and French mixed in. It's kind of a conglomerate of all those languages, all the words. So learning it at the start is really difficult, kind of comprehending how they speak and how they think, and you'll memorize phrases and you'll memorize sentences and you'll memorize words at the start and not really understand the grammar behind it and what you're actually saying until you start talking to them, until you start feeling it and understanding kind of their culture and how they think. And then it starts to sink in, oh, this is how they talk. And then you start being able to make your own sentences and how they speak. And one example, so in English we have an active sentence and a passive sentence. There's the active and passive, right? Like, what's an example of an active sentence?
Like,
he ate the apple. So in English we say he ate the apple, and then there's the passive. The apple was eaten by him. And in Malagasy they say the apple was eaten by him. They would say that 70-80% of the time. So just like stuff like that, kind of at the first you're just kind of like, what are they saying? Why are they saying it like that? But then as you learn the language, you're like, wow, it's impossible for me to explain it here, but when you say it in the language and you understand the language, you're like, wow, that is a much better way to say it, and it's more clear. And that's how it works for that language. So that's just an example of how goofy it can be to learn. So just as you're learning the language, just keep studying and don't worry about it, and keep working hard, because it'll eventually start clicking. There's some fun stuff. It's a fun language. It's definitely kind of flips your mind around and opens your mind up when you're learning a non-Latin based language, because it's just completely different. If I say I'm going to buy the banana, or I buy the banana, say ni vid ni akunchu au, I bought the banana. And then if you say it in the passive, it's vidiku ni akunju. So it sounds completely different. Ni vidi ni akunju au and vidiku ni akunju. But those are just the two different phrases. And if I were to say I'm buying a banana, I would say vidiku ni akunju. Luckily there's no tones or Pronunciation's fairly easy, and it's fairly similar to English. If you can read it, they'll understand it, basically. One of the biggest things you got to look out for is accents. Accents on certain vowels. So there's a lot of vowels in Malagasy. And if you put the accent on the wrong vowel, it will change the word. For example, there's Tanana and Tanana. Tanana is city, and Tanana is hand. So if you write it down, there'll be an accent in the middle part, Tanana, for city, and then Tanana, for city, and then Tanana. I might have said where the accent is wrong. But anyways, Tana and Tanana. Tanana and Tanana. Anyways, sometimes the accents can get really heinous, and I might have botched that whole thing, but you understand the point, I hope. I think for me, my experience in the MTC, I beat myself up a little bit too much for not being as good as I thought I would be learning Malagasy. And it's a difficult language, so study hard, but don't worry if you're not as good as you think you could have been.